Dear students, today we will be discussing the first canto of a very well-known satiric poem, Don Juan, by Lord Byron, one of the significant poets of the English Romantic period. Byron's Don Juan is a variation on the epic form. Byron himself called it an epic satire. We know that in epical poetry, the subject matter, language, style, and form all are marked by a kind of high seriousness. But the style of Byron's epic satire is the antithesis of the grand style. It has the easygoing laxity of ordinary conversation. That is why the poem is referred to as an epic carnival. The poem is based on the legend of Don Juan. Who is Don Juan? Don Juan is a Spanish fictional character. He is known to be a wealthy libertine. Libertine means womanizer who devotes his life to seducing women. Juan takes great pride in his ability to seduce women of all ages and stations in life. He thinks that he is young and that death is still distant. So he has plenty of time to repent later for his sins. So this is the basic story of the Spanish legend Don Juan. Byron, however, reverses the story of Don Juan. He portrays Juan not as a womanizer, but as someone who is easily seduced by women. So, in Byron's poem, Don Juan is an innocent man whom women always find attractive. Actually, in Byron's poem, Don Juan resembles Byron's character itself. Byron started working on Don Juan in 1818 when he was about 30 and living in Venice. At this point in his life, he had pretty much lived out of the life of the fabled Don Juan. He was living in exile from his native England because of all his scandalous affairs with married and noble women. The first canto of Don Juan were published, the first two cantos of Don Juan were published anonymously in 1890. The poem was immediately criticized for its immoral content. Byron's friends also found the poem immoral. However, as expected, the poem became immensely popular. In general, the style of Don Juan is the easy conversational or epistolary style. Byron has written this poem in ottava rima. What is ottava rima? Ottava rima is a poetic form favored by the Italian poets of mock heroic romances. Ottava rima is a form of poetry that consists of stanzas of 8 lines. So each stanza contains 8 lines. And each line of that stanza consists of 10 or 11 syllables. The rhyme scheme of the poem is AB, 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 C, C. Now we'll discuss in detail Canto 1. Canto 1 of Don Juan is without doubt the most interesting, entertaining, and amusing of all cantos. The story in Canto 1 is told by an I persona, who is said to be a friend of Don Juan's family. The narrative begins with the birth of Don Juan of Seville in Spain. The poet writes uh, writes in stanza 8, in Seville was he born, a pleasant city, famous for oranges and women. So, the amorous theme of the poem is emphasized in the very beginning of the poem. Oranges and women. This analogy is highly gender biased, however. The narrator describes little Juan as a little curly headed, good for nothing, and mischief making monkey from his birth. So, a mischief making monkey from his birth who is pampered by his parents all the time. Anyway, so you know that Juan is born in Seville. His mother is Dona Inez. She is a severe and cold type of woman. She is learned and has a good memory. Her favorite subject is mathematics. She also has a good knowledge of Greek, Latin, French, English, and Hebrew. In the character of Dona Inez, Byron has actually satirizing his estranged wife, Lady Byron. Juan's father, Don Jos. Don Jos is a good-natured, easygoing kind of man, completely opposite to his wife. He is inclined to take his pleasures where he finds them. He has no love for learning or the learned. As his wife is rigidly virtuous, he forever finds himself into a difficult situation. Stanza 22 that begins with the following lines. It is pity learned virgins ever wed with persons of no sort of education. So the narrator says that if a man marries a woman who is more educated than him, then his life is definitely ruined. He is bound to be ruled by his wife, and people call him henpecked. Thus, by marrying an educated woman, a man's womanhood is at stake. The poem here reflects highly gender biased notion that the condition of a happy married life is that women should be less educated than men. Consequently, there are quarrels between the two. Dona Inez, with the help of druggists and doctors, druggist means chemist. So she sought the help of the druggist and doctors. She tries to prove that her husband is mad. But as her husband lacks that intensity, she then tries to prove that he is morally bad. But when people ask for witness, she fails to produce any valid evidence. She only gives a peculiar explanation that her duty, both man, that her duty, both man and God requires that she should always remain concerned about them. This actually alludes to Byron's condition in the year 1815, when his behavior became increasingly erratic. His wife, that is Lady Byron, called in doctors who could not agree that he was definitely insane. So Lady Byron was left to conclude that then Byron must instead be mad. Dona Inez also keeps a diary in which she notes all his faults and even searches through his trunk of books and letters looking for evidence against her husband. She calls in all people of civil, advocates, inquisitors, and judges and seeks their assistance. Most of them repeat the same advices. Some people visit to take the fun out of it, and others visit to satisfy their grudge against those two people. So, Donna Inez has no other alternative but to suffer silently. The narrator humorously says that she suffers all the woes with great serenity, just like the Spartan women who used to silently bear the pain of their husband's death in the war in ancient age. She endures all the false accusations and slanders being spread about them, and also the agonies of her husband with such calmness and sublimity that people get surprised with her great magnanimity. The friends and relatives vainly try to bring about a reconciliation. Their lawyers recommend a divorce, but before the situation can reach a critical point, Don Jos dies. Donna Inez makes herself responsible for the supervision of her son's education. He is taught riding, fencing, gunnery, how to scale a fortress, languages, sciences, and arts. His education is to a certain degree impractical, for he is taught nothing about life. He studies the classes from expurgated editions. Expurgated editions means books which are highly censored. That means any lines or words or phrases which seem indecent uh, or sexually explicit are edited, deleted from those texts. So he was provided with that kind of texts. So in short, her mother sees to it that he receives an education calculated to repress all his natural instincts and keep the facts of life from him. Among Donna Inez's friends is Donna Julia. Donna Inez's friend, Donna Julia. This Donna Julia is a beautiful, intelligent young woman with Moorish blood in her veins. She is married to Don Alfonso. Married to Don Alfonso. Alfonso is a jealous man, more than twice her age. Theirs is, as expected, also a loveless marriage. Donna Julia has always been very fond of Juan. But when he grows up to be a young man of 16, her feelings for Juan change and become a source of embarrassment to both of them. Juan does not understand the change that is taking place in him, but the more sophisticated Julia realizes that she is falling in love with him. She resolves to fight her growing love and never to see Juan again, but the next day finds a reason for visiting his mother. She then convinces herself that her love for Juan is only platonic and persuades herself that it will remain that way. Juan cannot understand why he is pensive and inclined to seek solitude. One evening, Julia and Juan happen to be in a bower together. One of Julia's hands happens to fall on one of Juan's. When the sun sets and the moon rises, Juan's arm finds its way around Julia's waist. Julia strives with herself a little and whispering, "I'll never consented." As Julia lies in her bed one November night, there arises a tremendous clatter. Her maid, Antonia, warns her that Don Alfonso is coming up the stairs with half the city at his back. The two women have already enough time, barely enough time, to throw the bedcloths in a heap when Don Alfonso enters the room. Julia indignantly asks Alfonso if he suspects her of wrongdoing and invites him to search the room. Alfonso and his followers do so and find nothing. While the search is going on, Donna Julia protests her innocence with angry eloquence, giving numerous examples of her virtue and pouring abuse upon the luckless husband. When no lover is found, Alfonso tries to excuse his behavior, but only succeeds in drawing sobs and histories from his wife. Alfonso, shamefaced, withdraws with all his followers. Julia and Antonio bolt the bedroom door. No sooner has Alfonso gone than Juan emerges from beneath the pile of bedclothes where he has been hidden. Knowing that Alfonso would soon be back, Julia and Antonio advises Juan to go into a closet. Hardly has Juan entered his new hiding place when Alfonso makes various excuses for his conduct and begs Julia's pardon, which he half gives and half withholds. The matter might have ended there had Alfonso not stumbled over a pair of men's shoes. He promptly goes to get his sword. Julia immediately urges Juan to leave the room and make his exit by the garden gate, the key to which he gives him. Unfortunately, on his way out, Juan runs into Alfonso and knocks him down. In the scuffle that ensues, Juan loses his only garment and flees naked into the night. Alfonso sues for divorce. Juan's mother decides that her son should leave Seville and travel to various European countries for 4 years in the hope that he develops better morals. Julia is put in a convent from which she sends Juan a letter confessing her love for him and expressing no regrets. The first episode of Don Juan ends at this point. Don Juan thus intended as a satire on abuses uh, of the present states of society. It is a quietly mocking satire on everything and a serious satire on the hypocrisies of high society, man's pursuit of fame, and the human pressure for rationalization. It ridicules things in a unique tongue-in-cheek manner that strikes everything on this in its way. So this is all for today. I hope you have enjoyed my reading of the poem. Now read the poem and enjoy. Goodbye.